Hey everybody, welcome to 2022. My name's Jennifer. I am the Curly Stitcher here on YouTube and also on Instagram if you follow me there. Hi y'all, how's everybody doing this year? So far, I am recording this on Saturday, January the 8th, and this happens to be my mother's birthday, so happy birthday, Mom. I hope she gets to see this. She hasn't seen my face in a while either, since nobody's going anywhere, nobody's doing anything. We're all just staying locked up in our homes again for going on, another year. So, I hope you all are well. I hope those of you who have had to deal with horrible snowstorms and ice and freezing temperatures are staying warm, staying safe. And it's been kind of nasty cold here in Texas, but it's like 40 degrees today and raining, but this is a typical winter for us, so it is what it is. So again, welcome. Today's episode, since y'all haven't seen me since July of 2021, today's episode is going to be my finish parade. Basically everything, some of the stuff you've seen from previous episodes last year, but basically all of my cross stitch finishes from 2021. And surprisingly, as I was working up my year-end stuff and planning my journal for the next year, I was going through and counting all of my finishes. It turns out I think I have actually 21 finishes in 2021, which is really weird, but I will count those as like what I count as finishes. That's not really fair, because in the background here there are 5 Quirky Quakers that I finished, but that's like going to be one big huge piece that I'm going to keep working on. Those aren't part of the 21, but those are 5 additional. Plus there were some Valentine smalls that I finished when I was doing a stitching challenge in the month of February, so I'll show those too towards the end. But the actual projects I was keeping track of in my journal, which, just so you guys know, me looking down is to look at my notes, so I could try to give you as much information as I can on each one of these as we go along. But I will show you everything. And it is kind of funny because I originally had 19 written down, and then I realized I had missed a finish that was a gift for somebody, so then it was 20, and then I realized I had another one in there somewhere that I completely forgot about scrolling back through my Instagram feed. So I think I'm at 21, so 21 plus. So it's great. As you guys also know, as an aside, this channel I also do knitting episodes. I don't do as much knitting and haven't. I mean, I did quite a number of, again, based on what I could count, what I could remember. I finished about 11 projects last year. 2 of those projects were socks. So, I don't plan on doing a finished parade of my knitting, just because I think pretty much everything that I finished, was finished in those first 7 months that you guys actually saw videos. Just short of maybe a pair of socks and my vertices unite, but you'll probably see that in the future. I was definitely working on it towards the end of my videos last year, but I'll probably wear it at some point during a video. Also, I want to say hi and thank you and welcome to all of the new subscribers, which is really weird. I haven't posted anything new in like 6 months, and you guys subscribed anyway, so I'm going to try to not reinvent myself, but this is kind of a benchmark going forward. I don't know, just to put it out there now, I don't know how often I'm going to get to do these videos like I did before. I tried to do 2 a month, 1 cross stitch, 1 knit. And I'm doing far more cross stitch than I am knitting. So if I can keep up with 2 a month, it may be that it's pretty much all cross stitch, and then any knitting or sewing projects that I do in between, I'll just throw that in at the end of the video so you can skip over it if you want to, or you can keep watching. So this may be more of a true floss tube channel going forward. It's just a crafty channel though, so all crafters welcome here. And I will also add, in case any of you are wondering where I've been, in July of 2021 I switched jobs, and not that my old job was easy and my new job's hard or anything like that, but I just, in switching jobs, there were a lot of completely different company. It was kind of like learning things all over again, even though I was kind of in the same field that I was in before. But it was just taking a while for me to get my feet wet. But it also meant that the time, I shouldn't put it that way, I had a very structured schedule, or a non-structured schedule before my previous job. In this job I have a more structured schedule, so which meant that the time that I might have normally spent, like in most of my videos honestly were recorded on the weekends, but the time that I normally have to get my stuff together and do all that, every weekend it seemed like for the past 6 or 7 months, 6 months, was just exhausted. I mean, it's like all I could do was just want to just craft. And then a month went by and I thought, well, I'll try again next month. And then another month went by and I was like, well, I don't really have anything to show, or I was just exhausted. And then another month went by, and then it was, by then it was Halloween, and I thought, well, maybe I'll do a special Halloween episode, and that didn't happen. And I was getting stuff in the mail, and I thought, well, I ought to show people what I got in the mail. I was like, yeah. Then December rolled around, and that was actually where I started this channel, was with Vlogmas 2020. And I heavily debated doing this again 2021, and then I remembered how difficult that was. Not because recording the videos is fun. That's not the problem. The problem is committing to recording the videos. And so many people this year, or in 2021, did some amazing things. I mean, they would do a weekly video that summed up their whole week, or they would do just a little, and none of that spoke to me. I mean, all of it was just like, oh, that's a great idea, but I just literally did not want to spend the energy on it. I remember how hard it was. And if you guys watch my 2020s, I was doing a ornament a day, I was doing a stitching challenge. So there were things to kind of show every day, so it kind of worked. And then the end of the month happened, and we went on vacation for a couple of weeks, and I didn't want to try to keep up with it, so I kind of did kind of my final video, I want to say probably, the 3rd week of the month, and just said, hey, love you guys, see you in the new year. And that's how that worked out. So this year, and me doing this right now, I'm in a good mental place, so this was worth doing. I mean, I shouldn't say. So this felt right. It felt like a good thing to do. So thank you for all of you being here. I really do appreciate it. If you're new to this channel, welcome to the chaos that is my brain, my crafting room. I don't know what you're going to get with this video. It depends on how it ends up being edited. I will try to leave as much in as you can so you can really get a feel for me. The other thing I will tell you guys up front, I watch so many knitting channels, sewing channels, floss tube, cross stitch channels. And I realized I can't get through it all. I don't know how you guys watch all these, but I can't get through the just ton of videos that I watch, so I put mine on like 1.5, 1.75 speed sometimes, because people, I don't think I talk fast, but sometimes I do, and then sometimes I have that slow Texas drawl kind of come out, and you know. So feel free. If you need to like fast forward through all this, not gonna hurt my feelings. If you only watch the parts you want to watch, not gonna hurt my feelings. I've zipped through some before where like I realized the same person was showing the same thing on 2 different videos, so I'd seen most of it. There's some people that I watch devotedly, beginning to end, and savor every moment. And then there's some people that I just kind of run in the background, just to have something to listen to and glance up from time to time when I'm working on my stitching or my knitting or whatever. So, do what you want. But if you are new, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Like I said, this is the chaos that is my world. And right there, I repeat myself a lot, so be prepared for that. I am going to desperately try to keep this not brief, but under an hour, because people, all of these freaking, I want to do, this is my finish, my 2021 finishes. I want to show you my whip go, but I'm going to do that in a separate video. And then it seemed like there was a third thing I wanted to do too. But I definitely want to at least do those 2 videos for you guys, and maybe that'll get you through 6 more months. I don't know. I might be back. Back the end of January. I might not be back till January 2023. Anyway, okay. Enough rambling. Here we go. I am going to try to show these in order as close as I can to the day, I mean chronologically as I can. In doing my, going back through my journal and figuring out what I had finished to show you today, you know, making sure I had everything marked. I realized I had numbered some things out of order, but only it was because during the year I went back and picked back up and realized, oh yeah, I forgot to mark that as finished. I forgot to mark that as finished. So today, when I was trying to put this together for you guys, I realized my numbering was not chronological. So I may get a little bit off, but I'll try to tell you month and day of when I finished it, and then I'll try to give you as much information as I have written down. Some of these I have everything written down, floss, fabric, all that nonsense, and some of these I just have, you know, the name of the designer and the pattern and when I finished it. So let's get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is everything that I consider a finish. Not all of them are full finishes. Some of them are just a finished stitch that I haven't fully finished or haven't decided what I wanted to do with it yet. But I'm going to try to show you everything that I completed in January, in 2021, starting with January. So my first finish was on January 9th. This was a freebie. If you follow Mama Loves You GB here on YouTube on FlossTube, just the words, the Stay Classy, was her design, a freebie that she actually gave out. I want to say it was at the beginning of 2021, but it may have been part of her FlossTube or her Vlogmas in December of 2020. So I did that, but then I added, as a little aside, you could go watch her explain a little bit better. She was trying to come up with a sign off for each of her videos, and I believe she said it was her husband was a fan of Anchorman, and you know, he always signed off every newscast, Stay Classy San Diego. So that's what she started to say, and she does say now, at the end of every episode is Stay Classy Stitchers. Well, because it was Anchorman, I decided to add the little mustache and the little Scotch drink. So this is something that I designed myself. So I did this on a 14 count, just white Aida. This was back in my early days of, hey, just stitch everything on Aida out of a tube from Michael's. So that's the fabric I had. The variegated floss for the words is a Dinky Dyes number 96. I have seen other people say I don't think Dinky Dyes names all of their colors. I think most of them are just numbers. But I think that was part of a subscription box. I couldn't tell you who. It could be Stitchy Box, could be one of the others. I don't know. And then the mustache and the glass, Scotch glass, are Forbidden Fiber Company Tawny and Stone, plus, I said Sparkle. Oh, so Tawny is the mustache, Stone is the outline, the back stitch for the glass, and I said Sparkle. I think this is like a DMC Etoile, like the yellow Etoile. So I don't know, you might be able to see a little bit of sparkle there, just to make it kind of look like an actual drink. So that was my first finish of 2021, and I finished it on January 9th. And as I go along, I probably won't be able to tell you everything about every stitch. So if there's something specific you're wanting to know more about, just drop a message down in the comments and I'll see what I can dig up for you. I'm basing all of this information again off of my journal that I'm looking down at constantly, and what I can remember. So certain things like remembering that was a freebie and the story behind that was pretty significant. But some of these other ones, I'll be totally honest, you'll be lucky if I can tell you who it was that designed the pattern and from what, and then give you some basic information about the pattern or about the stitch. Okay, so my second finish for 2021 was January 14th, and this was actually a start in December of 2020. I think I might have shown this during my Vlogmas then. I had joined a stitching challenge that was like, the weeks leading up to Christmas, and so I didn't finish this before Christmas, so I guess sometime right after the first of the year I decided I wanted to go ahead and finish it. So this is, and I think this is a freebie chart maybe that I got as part of another order or something, or maybe they posted it on their Instagram 2 Christmases ago. But this is Frosted Pumpkin. This is their little Christmas pudding. It is really blown out. You can kind of see. So again, I think this is a 14 count just white Aida fabric. Here, that's a little bit better. I think I used all the called for. The sparkle threads, I think might be I don't think it's a toile. I'm gonna say it's probably the DMC Light Effects, maybe. There's multiple layers of white and gray in there, so you're not gonna be able to see it all because this is just horrible. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see it all. And I don't want to hold it too close because I really fudged up the finish on this. But essentially, this was sewn on a little tiny scrap of fabric that the stitch fit on, but I wasn't paying any kind of attention to what I was going to have to do to finish it. And this was one of my first ever flat ornament finishes. Well, that's not true. It's probably my second. But not realizing that most of these square ornaments like this, most people, now that I've watched a lot of Floss Tube, do a mat board back first before they do this. So this is literally flexible, just fabric. But for my first or second kind of go of it, it wasn't terrible. So just leftover trim and leftover fabric, Christmas fabric that I had that I thought kind of matched the little holly berries on it, and that's about all I can tell you about that. Oh, Frosted Pumpkin, if I didn't say that before. I'm almost positive this was a freebie that, like I said, either they posted on Instagram briefly, like in their stories maybe or something, or it was part of a, like if you signed up for their newsletter. But this is definitely like 2 years ago, Frosted Pumpkin. So I don't know. I don't know how to get a hold of this now. And like I said, I'm not gonna hold it too close because there are a lot of janky like stitches and stuff that I had to do. But for a first timer, second go round, that wasn't a terrible stitch. So that was my second finish for 2021. My third finish, actually I have hanging over here. This is Alyssa with Stitchonomy. She does her sals. She does throughout the year stitch-alongs, and hers are nice. They're free. Most of them are free, but you have to sign up for her newsletter because the only way you get, or you have to sign up for the sal, which comes in the form of a newsletter because she releases sections every 2 days or every once a week, depending on how much stitching you're doing. But she does like a Halloween one, which I've signed up for 2 of those now. This was the 2020 winter sal or Christmas sal that kind of went over into the first of the year, I think. And then she's got a Christmas one that's currently going on. I don't think you can sign up for it anymore after it's started, but you can buy it when it's over, or you might be able to buy the sections, as you go along or whatever, if you want to play catch up. But anyway, so this was her stitch along. I started this on January 19th, and I finished it on, let me make sure that this is right. It looks like I finished this in April. Okay, that's right. This was kind of a big piece. And there was a lot of other stitching done between January and April, just nothing finished before April. So this is on a 14 count navy. Oh, and called for DMC. I don't know if I said that. 14 count navy. Also called for DMC. And this is my finish. It's really, really big. I'm going to hold it back. There we go. So basically each one of these sections was released every couple of days, and then like I said, I didn't finish this till long before, or long after this stitch along was over with. So, and I didn't know what I was going to do as far as finishing it, but her finishing instructions kind of were for something like this, but with like a really cute white woodcut bell pull that had like snowflakes or something at the top, but I just put it on this dowel for now. I haven't quite decided what I want to do, but it hangs up just fine. I mean, I've got it currently. I pulled this down off of the front entryway. It's by our front door. So, and yeah, it turned out really, really, really cute. I'm trying to hold it back just so you can see the colors better, because that light tends to just wash the damn thing out. But I did want you to be able to see the darker colors too. So that was absolutely a great stitch. It took a while, and I'm definitely one of those people that stop and start. You get in the middle of stuff, and then you kind of want to break and you want to do something different, or you have another project you want to work on, or a new start that everybody's wanting to start together. And so yeah, you work on it when you can. So 3 months, that's not terrible. I mean, it could have been far, far worse. The actual stitch along I did write down ended February 4th. So yeah, I worked on it for a couple more months after that. And honestly, I think that was the start of January 19th, may have been pretty close to the start of her stitch along, maybe like a week or 2 after. Usually her winter / Christmas one, she actually starts right after Christmas. So yeah, it may have been like 6 weeks, done February 4th. It just took me a couple more months to get mine done. Okay, so the next few finishes I've got are kind of Q2 of 2021. That one kind of ended the beginning of the second quarter of the year. So the next finish I have is again, another freebie from, this time from Alforce Embroidery. If you're familiar with them at all, they are a company out of Russia, and they have stitch-alongs once a year usually, based on different themes, and they have a ton of other small and medium-sized free patterns as well, and this happens to be one of them. I think just the English version of the title, it's called Sparrows. So that is my little finish. It's a little pillow finish, and this was my first pillow I ever made, ever. And other than the Franken stitches on the side, which I've since learned how to hide very well, and I will show you how in later finishes. This was, honestly, I did not realize until I made this pillow exactly how or why people like making pillow finishes. So I absolutely love this one. So all I've got written here is that I started on May the 10th, and I fully finished it on May the 13th. So obviously it didn't take me very long to stitch. The fabric, I do have. It's a little Vintage Country Mocha 14 count. This was one of, you'll see a theme with some of these. This was an ornament cut from Fire Poppies. So, and another part of that theme being that I get really close to the edge with these ornament cuts. Like, I'm like, oh, this will fit just perfectly. But then when it comes time to sew it or finish it, it's like I kind of, I cut it really close, pardon the pun. And that, my friends, is May, our female cat, or Mayhem, who likes to come in on these videos from time to time because she hears me talking to myself. And she thinks, oh, I better go in there so she looks like she's actually talking to somebody. So don't mind her. She's just a little diva. My little sassy cat. Anyway, so back to this. So that's what I did. Found some fabric scraps that I had. The blue and the green. There, that's better. Blue. And this finish, I followed a tutorial. If you guys follow Helen D, she had some pillow finish tutorials. I think that she was doing Easter, right? May Easter pillows at the time. So that's what that's kind of what I followed. And her tutorial is fantastic. She has a bunch of tutorials that are really, really great. But that was my first pillow finish. And when it comes to finishing the sides, I wasn't too worried about that. I mean, you can't really tell. It's fine. It's all kind of puckered on the sides anyway. I debated whether or not to add trim to hide that, but I really do like this pillow the way it is. And it's just fiberfill. So yeah, so I just kind of left it as it is. So that's finish number 4. Finish number 5 and 6, I'm going to call these 5 and 6, or 5A and 5B. These, I'm going to put pictures here because these two are gifts. I only have about 3 finishes this year that I don't physically have with me that were actually gifted to people, and these are 2 of them. So these were done in May. May and June, I want to say. The orange one was a finish for, at my old job, so this is job change. The orange one was made for a coworker who found out right at the beginning of the year that actually that's not true, right at the beginning of COVID, so at the beginning of 2019, he found out what he thought was a sinus issue. He ended up having a tumor basically right at the base of where his ear and his jaw and his neck and everything all meet, and that actually it's on this side. There's like a major artery or vein right there, and it was harrowing because he basically like I said, what he thought was some kind of sinus infection, all of a sudden swole up. I mean, we never saw it, but he described it as like looking like he had a piece of fruit like smuggled, in his neck. And so he went through all 2019. We were all on lockdown. We were all working from home at the time. And he basically spent it trying to decide the best course for surgery and chemo and radiation or whatever he had to do in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic, when all the hospitals were closed and like surgeries could only be done if they were mandatory or necessary or life-saving essentially. So fast forward to May of 2020, May of 2021, and basically he got kind of not a clean bill of health, but they got all of the major mass removed, and then he did his final rounds of chemo, and then went back for whatever his next regular checkup was, and they said that it appeared to be gone. Now, the other thing I'll note in the midst of all that, he also found out that he had spots like in his lungs and some other I mean, it was full-blown cancer. So anyway, saying all that to say, when he got his first like A-OK thumbs up from the doctor saying, hey, you're going to be fine, that's when I decided to stitch this. Well, I decided I was going to stitch this for him. I did not want to give it to him until I knew that he was going to come out of it okay. So that's what I did. And the orange, I think I talked about this last year when I made it, but the orange, he's an alum of OSU, Oklahoma State University, and those are their colors. It's that bright, bright, bright orange. He would come into work with just orange, bright orange shirt on, or bright orange socks, or, I mean, it was always a part of us. So, one of the days we were still all working from home, but like going into the office one day a week or something like that. So one of the days when I went into the office, I dropped it off and left it for him on his desk. So, and I got a thank you. So that was really good. And then the other one was also for another coworker from that office. She and I are really, really, really good friends, and we still keep in touch. But that's a text message that she likes to send a lot. And if you're not familiar with how us Southerners talk, basically that translates to whale shit. Pardon the language. So she would, anytime something would come up, or you tell her, no, I can't do that, or no, that's not going to work, or whatever. That's the text you get from her. You go, whale shit. So that was given to her as a goodbye gift, essentially. Basically, that's probably the text I would have gotten from her had I told her by text that I was leaving, as opposed to calling her and telling her, that I was leaving. So that was one of my gifts to her. Another one was a pair of socks that I had knitted for her. I had learned to knit socks during the pandemic. And the first pair of socks I'd ever learned to knit was a Wool and the Gang, a Kind of Magic Socks kit. And I gave those to her as well. So it was kind of my way of thanking her and telling her I was going to miss her and all that good stuff. So that's, like I said, 5A and 5B, or 5 and 6, depending on how you look at it. The next one, and just for the record, I started and finished on May 15th. I'm going to say hers was probably late May or maybe even June. And sometime in there, this is my next finish. This was part of the Bob Meow Sow that was in May. I think this was started by Deanna of Darling and Whimsy Designs, but this is not her pattern. This is a Bob Meow pattern. And if I remember correctly, for those of you on Instagram that are so savvy, the hashtag was hashtag Ba Meow Sal. Ba Meow is the designer. And I think the story went, they were fed up with Etsy's, like with everything, you know, their algorithms that help you see the content relevant to what they think you should see. And Ba Meow is a designer that sold on Etsy, and they're kind of fed up with the fact that their designs didn't show up, or on Instagram for that matter. Their account didn't show up in people's feeds because they weren't feeding the monster, so to speak. They weren't, you know, paying to be an Etsy star seller. They weren't whatever. So Deanna of Darling and Whimsy said, hey, you know what? Everybody ought to go out and help this person out because they're not getting the sales to help get them recognized on Etsy. So everybody ought to go out and find a pattern and buy a pattern and stitch it, just to help them get, you know, a little more recognition on Etsy's platform. So this was, I cannot remember. I'm going to post recording. I'm going to put the name of the pattern down here. And just as a reminder, I'll try to put as much information on where to find patterns and stuff down in the drop down box as I can. So this is the pattern that we all stitch. Well, I say we all got to pick what we wanted to pick, but a lot of us picked this particular one. As I said, this will be a theme. This was another ornament cut from Fire Poppies, and I didn't mention it before, but Fire Poppies, basically, if you're familiar with their store, you can buy like a 6-pack or something of Ada ornament cuts, you know, that are about actually the full size of the pillow, or in this case, this was a linen. This is a 28 count French lace. And then the variegated, I don't have written down, but I think this was another one that came from a subscription box. So that's what I did. So it's basically, that's all one thread, just different colors. I was looking to see if it's hanging up somewhere, because I would recognize it if I saw it, but I don't see it hanging up, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. So anyway, so again, this was my second pillow finish, and this is what I learned. In watching a tutorial, I want to say this was for Jordan Fabrics. They do tutorials for everything from quilts to placemats and table runners to aprons to whatever. They were doing a tutorial on pillowcases. And it occurred to me, because they were doing, so their idea was, as you're, in their tutorial, this would have been a quilt block, and then you were going to want to finish it in a way that you could stuff a pillow form in it, but that you could take it off, so you could wash it, you know, take the pillowcase off so you could clean it if you needed to. I think they did a zipper method, you know, where you would unzip, you know, one end and take the pillow form out. But one of the tutorials they did was for an envelope pillowcase finish. And that just, the light clicked on. I was like, because this is just stuffed, I mean loose polyfill stuffing. That solved my problem of having to worry about any kind of gnarly seams, you know, Franken stitches or whatever, and everything's nice and hidden in the envelope, the folded over, you know, sides of the pillow, and there's enough, you know, coverage that basically that was it. So the fabric, I think I found in like a charm pack from Joann's or Michael's, and then the blue satin I found like in the remnant section in Joann's. And yeah, and I couldn't believe, honestly, how well those colors and even just the mandala pattern itself went with the, okay, I think the name of this pattern was Crystal Mandala, but again, hopefully I put it down below. put it on the screen what the name of it was, but that just kind of rung a bell with me. Anyway, see, this is welcome to what's going on up here. I'm like everywhere. So yeah, so that was my finish, and it's absolutely cute. And I've got quite a few pillow finishes now, and I get why people like doing these. I don't have a dough bowl. I'm not one of those people. I'm not. Dough bowls to me don't make any, well, I shouldn't say don't make any sense. Okay, if you're one of those that has a formal dining table where you want some centerpiece, you know, with all your, or you have a formal, you know, living space where people gather and you want to decorate, yes, I totally get why dough bowls and pillows work. But for me, pillow finishes are just great for smalls that I don't foresee or visualize being an ornament. But they're literally all sitting over here on a shelf. Just in my room for me to look at from time to time or remind me, hey, I made that. That's awesome. So anyway, all right. So that is number 6. We're going to go with number 6. Number 7 is by far one of my 2 favorite, well, yeah. Okay, so I haven't had very many big finishes this year because they take a lot of work, right? Like the Stitch On Me one, right? But this was definitely by far the big finish that I fully finished that at the time I was most proud of. This was part of another stitch along. This is Whistle Stop Stitcher, Jennifer. She sells patterns. Well, she did sell patterns on Etsy. I assume she still sells them. This was a stitch along though that was meant to be a fundraiser for her sister's cat. I hope I still have a good enough memory that I can remember all this. Sister's cat, Chester. And so this was the hashtag Chester Sal. And I finished it. So I started this on March 1st, which I think was about the time that everybody was starting this, but did not finish it until June 21st, which it's kind of a big mama bear. So yeah, it takes a while to do. This was done on a 16 count Aida. I cannot remember. I should know the name of this because I stitched on this so damn much, and I think I talked about it so damn much last year that I should know what it is. It is, though, a Picture This Plus. I'm almost sure of that. And I can't remember the name of it, so forgive me. If I think about looking it up, I'll put it down here. Done in the DMC conversion, I think is what I ended up doing. I can't remember what her original threads were, but I think there was a DMC conversion, so that's what I did. The only change I made was this was a solid black cat, and I changed it to match our 2 little tuxedos, Kip and May. But this is Chester right here. And if you're familiar with the pattern at all, yes, there are some minor things that are off. I mean, all of the motifs are stitched properly that I didn't alter, you know, like initials and stuff. But there are some things that are off a stitch this way, off a stitch this way. But unless you know the pattern so well and have an eye for it, you don't know unless you know. So anyway, so that was my big finish, and this was just a, I think this was an 8.5, is that right? 8.5? No. 10 inch. 8.5 is probably what the center is. 10 inch wood, like palette. It was already finished like this, that I think I bought from Michael's. So, basically, there is a piece of matte board in there that I forgot to peel the adhesive off of, so it's actually not stuck down. I mean, it's glued down to the board, but it's not stuck to the matte board. And then finished it off with the little white pom-pom trim that I probably got from Joann's or somewhere like that. So, and that was my finish. And I absolutely love this one so much. So I was so happy to finish this. And this was kind of exciting to me. This was kind of my first big girl finish, sort of. I mean, like, I took some time and thought out what I wanted to do. And and did it. I like the way it turned out, and the colors all look really good together. And this hangs up, there's a little bit of wall space between our laundry room and kitchen. That's where it hangs, is in there. So absolutely love that piece. So that's number 7. Okay, I hope you guys are hanging in there. This is turning out to be longer than I thought it was going to be, but apparently I have the gift for the gap, so hang in there. I hope if you need to take a break, you grabbed a drink, and we're going to keep on going. Okay, so now we are on, if I said that was number 7, we are on number 8. Oh, actually, number 8 was Chester's Place. So we are on number 9. Number 9 is Safe Space that I finished. I started this June 17th, finished this July 19th. This was kind of my pride stitch that I did for the month of June. This was all done on a 14 count black Aida that I had, just you know how it is, tube of black Aida. But this was done with, trying to cover it up because the window's kind of showing through a little bit there. This was done with Leo and Roxy floss. They had a Pride collection that they released, I want to say probably in May, that was sold exclusively through Evertotes. And then I chose to do the bats and some other colors of theirs. I think one of them was Vamp, that one, Plum Shadow maybe, and I don't remember what the other one was, but so yeah, and again, this is one that's got some imperfections in it, but I love it the way it is, and I keep this hung up in my room on the wall here just to remind myself to be a safe space for others, whether in real life, IRL, or on social media, to try to be there and be kind and be true, but be respectful, and be a place where others can feel comfortable with themselves enough to be themselves in the space that I provide. So this was an absolute wonderful stitch. I was really, really proud of it. And yeah, that was number 9. So number 10, and I can't remember the name of the designer. Go back to this for a second. So again, put it down here. Tell you who designed it. I want to say it was either, forget it. I'm going to put it down here because I don't want to get it wrong. Okay, so that was number 9. Number 10 was, let me find it on my list. This was actually, this was a start, and I can't remember when I started it. I want to say sometime in July for a stitching challenge, maybe. But I didn't finish it, I don't think, and, well, yeah, maybe I started it and finished it in July. I was trying to remember when the stitching challenge was. It may have been in June, but June, July-ish, 2021. This is a Santa Gnome. This was actually in a magazine. I think I actually have a cross stitch, just cross stitch or something like that. So this was another ornament cut from Fire Poppies. This was a 14 count. The color is called Bunny Mom. And so I had finished it. I think I finished stitching it maybe in July. But I don't think I fully finished it until much, much later. I want to say maybe like November, October, November. And the reason why I say that is because I had this sitting around for like forever when I finished it, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And so it was just, just the ornament cut, just whatever. Well, I was at Target over in the dollar spot, so I'm going to say this was October, November, because most of you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. Most of the dollar spot stuff goes really, really quick. Well, this is actually, this was, they had a bunch of these that were like $1 and $2 and $3. They're meant to be like wooden, gift tag, like you hang, but, or even, I mean, they would work well as ornaments too. But they were, I want to say they were kind of early, like, it may have been like right after Halloween or right around Halloween, you know how they do, but I knew they wouldn't last, so I kind of got one of each. The rest of them are actually right there. There's like a snowflake one and maybe a stocking one or something. But anyway, so I thought this was really cute. It only said ho 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 on the one side. So yeah, so I glued the I did the little edging. I think what I did was I traced around the ornament on the back side. Did the little back stitch, just kind of edging. It's not perfect, guys, and I don't really care about that. I think what I may have done was folded it over and back stitched it down, because I think you can kind of see the edges of the fabric. And then I added that same white pom-pom trim from Chester's Place. That's what that is too, and just added a bit more just to kind of cover up the edges because of where the fabric met the wood. It didn't look real great, but like even this, see, this is fabric on wood. So it was, but it was bought like that. I didn't put that there. That's how the tag came. But anyway, so when I saw these and I brought them home, because I was like, I just found these wood ornaments or gift tags or whatever they're supposed to be. I thought, oh, these are cute. These will be good finishing, whatever. And then I got home with them. And this guy just happened to be sitting over in a pile, you know, over here, of just always looking at me like, hey, lady, when are you going to finish me? Or fully finish me. And then, yeah, I was like, I wonder if that shape or if that would fit. And I'll be danged, it did. So that's what I did. Called for DMC. The beads on the tree in the pattern, I think, called for Mill Hill. And I've got some Mill Hill, but they were like, at the time. And so I went through, like, I've got some old jewelry, beading jewelry stuff. And I kind of like the way that looked. So the little gold, they'll probably tarnish. They're probably inexpensive, or they'll, if they're painted, you know, enameled plastic or something, they'll probably wear off over time. But for what I wanted to do with it, it was cute. So that was finish number, what did I say, 10, right? All right. So 11 was, so over the summer of 2021, some of you may have participated in, Abby Sue Designs did a stitch along that the only way you could participate, and it was free. This first one was free. The only way you could participate was to sign up or log in, be a part of her group on Facebook, and it was a Disney dog sal. I'll try to put a picture up here of what the full finished piece looks like with all of the dogs. Did I do it? I had every intention of starting it, and I never did. And as time went on, my favorite Disney dog wasn't on there. Now, I love all the dogs. I love Disney, period. But I started to realize, like, my favorite dog isn't on here. Until it just so happened with this particular sal, this first sal she did, she had actually charted several other dogs, and didn't include them in the original design. And I think one of the nice things about it at the time, looking back now, was that if, like me, you had a favorite dog that wasn't on the original, you could have replaced it with, if it was in one of the bonus dogs. So she, after the stitch along was over on Facebook, she released a file of bonus dogs, and my favorite dog was on there. And instead of stitching the whole thing, the whole chart, I thought, screw it, I'm just going to stitch the one that I was hoping was going to be on there to begin with. So, and he ended up being a bonus, and I'm so happy, and it was Goofy. Now, I can't remember, but I think under each of the dogs, she had, on the original chart, she had the name. I can't remember if she did that or people were just doing that in addition. But I didn't put his name on there. If you don't know who Goofy is, you don't deserve to know. But had the green hoop, decided I'm just going to do a hoop finish with his goofy ass, because he matches me and my goofy ass. Did the green finish. Then this, because I'm extra, this is actually 2 pieces of different ribbon. It's a lace ribbon and then a green ribbon. And what I did was I just pinned down the lace ribbon in spots where you can't tell, and then tied it in a bow, put it on there, and then added another, like, I don't know if this is probably black. It almost looks navy blue here, but ribbon just to hang it. So that's, and then I just did the felt back with that. So that is, where are we at now? Number 11? Number 11. Then, number 12. Oh, and this, hold on. Do I have it? Yeah. Again, another ornament cut from Fire Poppies. This one is called, I'm going to say this says, they handwrite, I don't have a one anywhere. They handwrite little labels and stick them on the ornament cuts, you know. So I'm going to say this is called Somerville Sky, or Summer, I'm going to say Somerville Sky. It's a 28 count Lugana. And then all of the called for DMC for Goofy. Again, number 11. Number 12. This was actually another exciting, personal, exciting finish for me. This was actually part of a SAL that was started back previously in April. The designer is Anna Aguayo of Peruvian Flair, and this was kind of one of the first patterns that kind of got all of our attention. Now, I think she had had some other patterns prior to this one, but this is the one that kind of everybody was like, what? And so I think Michelle Garrett, Bendy Stitchy, decided to do a SAL to drum up, you know, some notoriety or some attention for Peruvian Flair, but then also because this is a really cool freaking chart. So this is called the Cat's Reflection Sampler. Ooh, glare, sorry. And I stitched this on, oh shoot, here we go, hold on. A 32 count vintage country mocha Belfast linen. And the original colors were reds. If I had to guess, I think Anna charts all hers in DMC. But I chose, at the time, I was just getting into buying Leo and Roxy floss. Keep in mind, this was back in April. So I had, there was a thread pack of reds. And for the life of me now, I could not tell you what the color was, but it was a one-of-a-kind. The center, the bright red, was a one-of-a-kind floss. And I got to, I think I got the top cats done, and I got the 2 bottom cats done. And I got a lot of this stitched up pretty quickly. I mean, I really did. But I couldn't, it freaked me out because of how much, or how little of the one-of-a-kind thread I had left. It freaked me out. So I just let it sit and 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 sit. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And it freaked me out. So I'm kind of going a little bit out of order as far as timeline. But what ended up happening was, so I knew I didn't have enough to do the border to, I mean, I knew that going into it. Like, I knew how much thread I had of the bright red. So I'd opted for another Leo and Roxy floss for the border. Just to change it up anyway, just because I like that. But I sat. So at some point I picked this back up. I want to say in like September. And I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do the border because it'll give me time to think about what I want to do about this last cat, because I was just beside myself. So, got the border done. And then what ended up happening was I sat on it some more, and I came across another hand-dyed cotton floss that I had that was not Leo and Roxy. I had a couple of other Leo Roxys that were so variegated that I thought maybe there was enough of the variegated that was similar that I could pull off stitching this last cat with what thread I actually had left. I wish I could show you guys. I don't even know what I did with it now, because I literally have like one, two threads together, but like one pull of this color of Leo Roxy left. And the only reason why was because I fussy cut another variegated thread. I think it was a Forbidden Fiber Co. or something that just happened to match to get that cat stitched. And that's what I ended up doing. I ended up fussing, but it got done. But anyway, so when I started on the border, this was in October as part of the Whips Be Gone challenge by Devoted Quilter. So this was actually my second. That's why I'm saying I think this is kind of out of order, because this was actually my second Whips Be Gone finish. I'm almost positive. This was not my first, because I know what my first is and I haven't shown it to you yet. But for some reason, I have this listed as number 12, but this was actually finished October 5th. So I had most of it done by the time Whips Be Gone got started, because Whips Be Gone started, I want to say, like the last week in September, because it was the last 100 days of the year. So that's when I picked this back up, was basically very, very end of September, 1st of October, and got this finished. But all I had left was that cat. Got there, and I had made up my mind on what I was going to do, and it turned out just fine. And then the frame, so literally, it's just janky. I just cut it. So what I did was, the frame I found, and I actually got a really sweet message on Instagram from Anna, because I was worried this frame is like really bling, well, to me, really kind of blingy, whatever. And I was like, I kept wanting something more, I kept hoping I would find like the perfect frame that was either like wood, natural wood, or stone, like faux stone or something. Or I thought, I might just have to go buy, something and make something. But it just so happened this perfect square frame, I found at Target. And I thought, well, let me try and see. And I really liked the way it looked. And I keep it hanging right over here on the wall. But I just didn't know about the shiny. I was like, that's just, to me, it was too opposite or something. But I got a really sweet message from Anna on Instagram. She said, no, that frame is perfect. She said, because this was, so most of her designs are Incan, Peruvian, designs. And she said, the Incans were known for being, the lost cities of gold or whatever. So she said, no, it actually is the perfect kind of thematic frame for it. So it made my heart happy that, coming from the designer, that she liked it. She thought it looked really good. So it's been that way ever since. But if you guys want to know, literally what I did was, I jammed it in there, centered it as best I could. I mean, it's on the, there's no mat board, no nothing. I mean, nothing else would fit in there, because I left the glass in there too. But literally just centered it the best I could. Fussy kind of tugged and pulled, because obviously it's not completely straight. And then just, once I had it fitted in there and locked in, just took the scissors and cut around the edge. That's what I did, and I'm leaving it. I'm not touching it. It is what it is, but I absolutely love it. Absolutely great. So yeah, so that is what I have as number 12, but like I said, I think that's kind of out of order, because I'm realizing now there are a couple of other things that actually got done before that. So one more thing that got done before that, which I've got, is number 13. This was another stitch along, but this was a very small stitch along between me and a friend, but as part of a larger stitch along. So Kaylee, if you're watching, here's where you shine, girl. Kaylee and I were going to participate in the Betsy Klager, the Betsy Sal when Betsy found out she had her little, it's not a tumor. Everybody decided to do a sal in honor of Betsy and her tumor. And so there was a specific chart that she was going to start along with, I think, Nikki Noodle and probably Trixie Tricycle and some other folks. And I looked at the designer of that chart. The chart itself was not my thing, which that's what it is, right? And I looked at some of the other designs that the designer had and still didn't like anything. Well, I had been in conversation with Kaylee Cross-Stitch, again, here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And she was working on a big Stitcherovia, I think, pattern, Emma Congdon pattern, or it's a pattern from that Cross Stitch for the Earth, the seasonal one. And she had mentioned in her live, or one of her floss tubes, that what she was doing was she was doing Ymir Almond M&M's silks on it. And one of the called for colors is actually like kind of a white color. I mean, it's a full coverage, even though she's stitching it on white fabric, she was also using. And I had also received or bought the same floral pack that Almond M&M's Ymir had done. And the white was called Orchid. And I knew I wasn't going to use it probably for anything. So I reached out to Kaylee and said, hey, I noticed you were talking about, you were almost out of, some of the color, you knew you weren't going to have enough, some of the colors. Are there any ones in particular that you think you might run out of, or you think you might need more of? And it just so happened, I was thinking in my head, I don't need the white. I wonder if she would take the white, if she's going to use the white. The first one, she said, I couldn't believe it, was Orchid, was the white. She said, yeah, she said, there's a lot of white in this chart. I think I'm going to need more Orchid. And I said, you know what? Today is your lucky day, because I was thinking the same exact thing. Okay, so all of this backstory to say that when I sent her the Orchid, I had 2 copies of this pattern. This pattern is by Bendy Stitchy, Michelle Garrett. This was originally titled, this said Berry Bird, but I had 2 copies of it. I had bought a copy from Michelle or during market or something, Needlework Expo or something. But then I had gotten a second copy in a Stitchy box that was bird themed. And so I sent the second copy to Kaylee. Just as a surprise, she didn't know about it, along with a bird needle minder. And I wanted to say something. Oh, yeah. An owl needle minder that I happen to also have 2 of, along with some DMC that I happen to have several skeins of, that they were colors for a full coverage she was doing of a barnyard aid. So, so I sent all of it to her. She didn't know about anything but the Orchid floss was coming to her. And on one of her lives, right after she got it, I was on there, I jumped on there, and she was like, oh, she said, I have to send you a thank you. She said, but we need to talk. So, after all was said and done, she got in touch with me. She said, hey, they're doing that For Love of Betsy sal, or I think that's what's called her, Betsy. Gosh, see, this is how bad my memory is. I can remember stuff from January of last year, a year ago, but I cannot remember crap that happened in September or whenever this was. Anyway, she reached out to me. She said, you know that pattern? She said, why don't we do that together in Betsy's honor? I said, I'm on it. So that's what we did. So this, I don't know if you can tell, is it actually a peach? Is a Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers, I think, peach. 32 count. And then all of the colors I converted to Leo and Roxy floss. And as this gets longer and longer, I'm going to remind you, anything that I don't talk about right here and you want to know more about, ask me and I'll get you the information. So, stitched it, Started on September 16th, which was about a week after Kaylee started hers, I think, because I kind of got a late start on it. I was probably doing one of the thousands of other things, but finished it on the 18th. So real quick stitch. The red is a ribbon that was also part of the bird stitchy box. I put this little cat charm on the end of the branch, which is to signify Betsy's Cat Hamilton. I opted to put a little tiny bead, which I think also came from a stitchy box, as the eye. And then I also put little green beads that I think came from the stitchy box on just certain spots above the berries, the smaller ones, the smaller berries. So yeah, I was really, really happy. Now, the only exception was at the time, I don't think Leo and Roxy had very many, brown, flosses. So I think this was still done in the DMC, the recommended DMC. And then the green was supposed to be 2 different colors, but I ended up using a variegated DMC, green. But I think it looks great. And then I think Kaylee reached out to Michelle Garrett about the letters, asking if it was okay to convert the letters. But I had a couple of other Bendy Stitchy charts that had similar alphabet, font. So that's what I did, was I picked out the letters from another pattern I had, and it just so happened that I think the letters Michelle sent to Kaylee were almost identical. So yeah, so that was my finish. And again, a pillow finish. So what I ended up doing was, I don't know if this was the green. This may have been leftover green from the sparrows that I stitched. This was another satin remnant that I had from something. So I basically triple did it. And then this happened to be a bird that was like panels fabric that I bought that was a remnant from a quilt shop. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Well, in order for me to get the 2 birds to fit my envelope, the panels had to be much shorter. Like, there's very, very little overlap here. So I used the rest of that ribbon to basically tack down each side of the envelope and then tie it shut. So that's what I ended up doing with that. And I think it looks really, really, really cute. And it's the same leftover red ribbon. So that was number 13. Okay, so now we're getting into the final stretch of 2021. As I mentioned, the Peruvian cat sampler, cat reflection sampler, was kind of out of order a little bit, only because I knew I'd finished it during Whips Be Gone, which was the last 100 days of 2021. Because that was a little bit out of order, I mentioned Betsy Bird was done before then. And the first official, this last little section here, or the rest of this, the rest of the year that I'm going to talk about, all of these finishes were actually done during Whips Be Gone. So these were actually posted as part of that event on Instagram. And again, Whips Be Gone was done as a way to motivate people to finish all the things that they needed to finish by the end of the year. So it's the last 100 days of 2021, and was run by Devoted Quilter, and she had a contest where, each 25 days, each quarter, she picked people that won prizes, and I was one of them. I think in the 3rd quarter, I won my pick of Aurifil threads, which I absolutely love them. If I ever get around to using them, I'll make sure and point them out. But back to my finishes. So the first actual Whips Be Gone finish that I had was something that I started on Earth Day, April 22nd of 2021. And this is a pattern by Steno Stitches, and it was just for that day. If you contacted them, they gave it to you for free. So I actually started it that day, but I did not get it done until September 30th. So this was my first Whips Be Gone finish for 2021. And this was done on a 16 count Ada. That's Picture This Plus Arctic. And so it's kind of hard to tell, but it's just this very, very faint mottled bluey gray, which I thought was, in my mind, my thought process was, yeah, the Arctic is melting because we aren't respecting our Mother Earth. So I felt like it was a good fabric to use. And I actually originally had this stitch on a much larger hoop. But I kind of put the call out there, put a poll out there to see, and I think more people like the smaller hoop. So I put it in the smaller hoop, and it's just a felt finish on the back, glued, and it was the called for DMC. I don't think. Oh, yeah. So there is one change, which is the blue, the water. I want to say was recommended some specialty overdyed floss color, and I don't remember what it was, so I just kind of picked a DMC that I thought looked good, and I think it looks good. So it turned out really, really, really well. So that was number 14. And my next one, I'm going to insert a little bit of footage separately because it's actually a larger project. My other large finish from the year that I'm going to insert here in just a minute because I want to leave it. It's actually hanging up on my craft room door, and I don't want it to I don't want to have to take it all down because it's kind of a production. So I'll show you guys here, and then we'll be back to the room here in a minute. Okay, guys, so this is my next finish from 2021. And as you can see, it is quite a large project. This is the Three Little Hexes by D's 20 Stitches and Uncanny Kari that I ended up making a little hex hotel wreath out of. So these were, the first one that I actually started, I think was the teacup. So I actually, because I had started it before Whips Be Gone began, I decided I would make this my next Whips Be Gone, finish. But the deal was there were actually 3 small little finishes to be done. So I'm going to zoom in here, just so you guys can see, but the way I finished it was a square wire frame that I purchased from Joann's or somewhere, and this is pinked fabric. I'll get in kind of close. It's got like little cats and little constellations and little frogs, and then the wire ribbon I bought at Joann's, I think, as part of their Halloween stuff for last year. And then these look blue, but they're actually like purple. Let me see if I can turn on another light here. Well, that just makes them more blue, but they're really more of like a purple light color. And then in addition, they had these little placards that there were 3 different ones, but because this was part of the Hex Hotel, gosh, there's so much glare. That's Kari's actual art print that I purchased, or was part of the purchase when I bought the pattern. I thought that Enjoy Your Stay was a nice sentiment, so to speak, for the I'm sorry, I'm laughing because May's just down there like, lady, what are you doing? She keeps talking. It was a nice sentiment for the hotel theme. So let me zoom you in. So what I ended up doing was, I believe this was a 16 count Bestitch Me that I think I bought or won in a Friday Fight Night. But believe it or not, all 3 of these were from the same fabric. So zoom in kind of close here. Here's the teacup one. And they're rounded because what I did was I took the square, cut the square out of the fabric big enough, and then I bought those styrofoam half sphere, like you find over in the floral section, and pinned, basically moved, tucked the fabric in on the flat side on the back and pinned the fabric down. So that's how I got this kind of spherical look, or, you know, orb look to them. So that's the teacup. Then I did the planchette. And I used DMC 310, but then I used the green Etoile and the purple Light Effects DMC that match the DMC numbers that that Dee gave on their pattern. And then the ghosts are the DMC Glow in the Dark thread. That on this one I doubled up the thread, but on the other two I actually opted for a single thread, and I think I kind of like the way the fabric shows through, which to me is more looks more like an actual ghost, like, you know, you can kind of see through their figure. And then finally the book, which I absolutely loved. The book turned out really, really, really well. And then in addition to all of that, I got Dee and Kari's permission to like show this on social media. This is my interpretation of Dee and Kari's little hexy ghost. Actually, I think I kind of used that one as kind of my my inspiration, but essentially crocheted and stuffed and fiber filled, and then there's a little piece of wire in there to make the ghost tail kind of bend. And then of course that was the O-Hex needle minder that came with the set if you purchased it from them. I believe you can buy the digital patterns, but don't quote me on that. I don't know if, I can't imagine that they're not selling these anymore, because they're absolutely wonderful. There is also a Hex Hotel pattern designed by Dee as well, but that obviously is a much larger project, so I opted for the 3 smaller Hexes. So I just wanted to show you guys, but I wanted to insert this because this was going to have to be separate, like I said, because it's hanging on my craft room wall or door, and it's a permanent pretty much addition. It's not going anywhere. Every time, you know, when you walk down the hall on this side of our house, it's hanging outside the door. So so yeah, that was my nice big finish that became my third Whips Be Gone finish for 2020. And I'll have to look. I'll get back with you when I switch back to the other video, and I'll tell you more details about my start and finish on that project. Okay, so as you saw there, that was my number 15 finish for 2021, and just a little more details on that. I started it on September the 18th, and I think it was, we did a 3 little hexes sal, or hex sal. I think Dee, but also Michelle, Garrett, Bendy Stitchy, she also was part of that. So they started a sal in September, and that was right before Whips Be Gone started, but I had already started that. So by the time Whips Be Gone happened, that became my next whip to finish. I think it was the first 2 cross stitches, then I finished my Vertices Unite knit as a finish, and then went back to a cross stitch piece, which I ended up choosing 3 little hexes to get done. Now the caveat is I started it September 18th, but I hoped to have it finished by Halloween, and that didn't happen. I think I had all but I think I had the first 2 done, the teacup and the planchette, and then the book didn't get finished. And I didn't fully finish it, the crochet ghost and everything, until, I kind of had actually the wreath kind of built, and I was just adding the pieces as I got them stitched or crocheted or whatever. So the actual finished piece, I finished the last stitch and got it all put up and together on November 10th. So it was shortly after Halloween, but I got it done, and I was really, really, really thrilled about that. And I just love that finish. Like I said in my video, it's on my, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's all lit up. It's on my craft room door. Anyway, it's just been so fun, and I kept it lit up like every day. Even when it wasn't completely built, I'd already created like the wreath and had things kind of put on there, but had it lit up every day because I knew I wanted, you know, just to kind of have that joy in my life during the rest of the month of October. So that was a lot of fun to do. So that was number 15. Number 16, this was done in November. This was another stitch along idea of Kaylee Cross Stitch. Hey girl, if you're watching. We were on a live, I think in October maybe, or maybe even September. And she had a full coverage piece from Haid that was inspired by Starry Night Van Gogh, but it had cats on it. And I think it was part of a giveaway that she actually ended up giving away a second copy of that pattern to someone who won. And we were all talking about doing Van Gogh pieces. And I knew I am not a full coverage. Haid does not appeal to me at all. I like big pieces, but I like to have negative space in there. I don't like filling in every stitch. It makes my heart hurt. It gives me like chest pains, like thinking about it. So, because I knew, no, I'd never get it done. And two, I don't think I would, me personally, I don't think I would find joy in stitching something like that. I could be wrong. Never say never, right? But anyway, so they were talking about Van Gogh pieces, and she wanted to do a Van Gogh November, which turned into hashtag Van Gogh November. And I joked that, yeah, I said if I would join that, but I'd have to do one of those mini art projects. Well, that got her searching on Etsy, and there are a couple of designers on Etsy that's all they design are mini art pieces, by famous artists, but that are cross stitch. So my number, we're on number 16 now, was Mini Starry Night. The pattern name I think is just like cross stitch mini. Again, if I can find it, I'll put the Etsy shop information here for you. But that was my next piece. Now, yes, this is full coverage. But this is full coverage that's like, you know, whatever it is, 40 by 40 or 40 by 60 or something. This is not full coverage that is, you know, 300 by 300 or whatever ridiculousness. So this is more my speed. So I started this for Van Gogh November on November the 2nd. I finished it on November 11th. And I think Kaylee ended up doing 2 or 3 before the month was up. Xanaraz, I think, did a Starry Night inspired piece, but had like a Great Dane on it. And I don't know if that one got done or not before the end of the month, but I think it was really close. You'd have to check Xanaraz's Instagram to see if that one was finished by the end of November. But so that one was mine. So that's number 16. Number 17 is another one that I started. This was not part of Whip Go. Neither was that one. So these next two, I actually started within the Whip Go Whips Be Gone challenge. And I did not want to include them because I was starting them within that time period. So these were done separate, independent of my Whips Be Gone finishes. So number 17 is, and this is not a fully finished piece. This is just the cross-stitched finish. This was Want a Piece of Me by Mama Witch Cross Stitch. When I saw this, I was like, that so screamed me. It was not even funny. But this was Want a Piece of Me. This was the turkey. And I just absolutely loved it. So I had to do this. I wanted so much to do this and finish this. during the month of November for Thanksgiving. This was kind of my turkey finish, or my turkey stitch. This I also stitched as part of the Flip D the Bird Sal. Dee's 20 Stitches birthday is in the month of November, and they wanted everybody to stitch on a bird for their birthday. So this is the one I chose to do. I kind of had already started it before their birthday day, but I felt the theme of the stitch was very apropos to their general personality. So, and I think I wasn't the only one. I think there's some other ones out there that if you go and look at Flip D the Bird Sal, there were some other folks that also stitched the same design for Dee's birthday. So started this on November the 12th, which I think was very, very shortly after this pattern was released. I wanted to stitch this that badly. And finished it on November 27th. So I haven't decided on what I want. I think I'm probably just going to frame this one because I think this would be a good framed piece, but I haven't found anything that spoke to me. I'm thinking, you know, Wild West, you know, like raw, you know, fence post looking wood or something, but I haven't quite decided. So it just sits back here on a scroll frame with some other stitches just until inspiration hits me. This is kind of how Peruvian the cat sampler was for a while, because I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I couldn't find something. So, but it was just a couple of months ago that I finished it. Not even a month and a half ago that I finished it. So, yeah, it'll sit around for a little while till I figure out how I want to fully finish this one. But I was very, very happy to get that done, and that was quite a fast stitch for me, considering how many stitches there were. I mean, I really was motivated to do this one. I really like this one a lot. So before I forget, this is a 16 count Bee Stitch Me called After the Harvest, and this was like the September or October like Bee Stitch Me fabric of the month. Yeah, September neutral fabric of the month. So I just gotten this fabric, so I was really, really happy that it was something that I thought looked good with the piece. And I used the called for DMC. I didn't change anything on this one. I was a little worried about the skull, but you can kind of see it there. The horns kind of don't show up very well, but it's fine. I mean, it looks perfectly fine. You know, like the barrel, same thing, but it's totally, totally, totally cool. I think it looked really good. It turned out really good. So that was number 17. Number 18 was, this is one I'm going to put up a picture here, and this isn't even the full finish. This is just the stitched finish. I actually stitched this for a friend. I had started it during the summer, back in the summer during a stitching challenge, and I knew that who I was stitching this for even then, but I wasn't in any kind of hurry to finish it at the time. But this ended up becoming my next Whips Be Gone piece, so I was able to give it to my best friend, basically as a Christmas gift, as part of her Christmas gift. So, so yeah, this is the stitched piece, and I just ended up putting it in a frame again, kind of like I did the cat sampler. Just literally jammed it around the cardboard insert, and just kind of tugged on the linen until I could get as close to near the edges as I could, and found, you know, like a nice 4x6 maybe, or 5x7 frame. I can't remember exactly what the sizes ended up being, but it was stitched on a XJU Designs 32 count bunny, and I think the pattern I think called for Gentle Arts or Weeks Dye Works, you know, one of those. But anyway, but I did a DMC conversion. Now, what I can't remember, and I know I've got the pattern around here, but I think it's put away, is I can't remember if the DMC conversion that I did was based on, it was given in the pattern, or if I went out and did a search, like searched one of the conversion databases on one of the websites and converted it myself. but I think maybe the DMC conversion was offered, and that's what I ended up doing. So, and I love the colors, and so did she. So, happy all the way around. Like I said, started it back in July as part of a stitching challenge, but I finished it on November 29th. So that was the next one. And then, so that's number 18. So we're on the home stretch here. Number 19 was, let me find my numbers here. This was another Whip Speak On finish. This I started back in June, also for Pride Month. This was a freebie design that's at then Stitch Life magazine posted for free as like a Google Doc. You could go out and download it. And since then, since I've shown this finish, someone on Instagram reached out to me about how to get this because it was given as a free pattern at the time. And the Google Doc link didn't work anymore, but we were able to determine that technically it is still a free pattern. So, since Stitch Life magazine is like no more, they've kind of not reinvented themselves. Some of the members of Stitch Life Mag, Dana still runs the Stitch Life magazine Etsy store or whatever. And there's some things out there and you can get in touch with her that way, but I felt terrible because, you know, technically they didn't exist anymore, but she was the best one I knew to reach out to, and she was able to get me a copy. But other than that, Running with Scissors, Kelly and Clay was one of the other. I don't know what Clay's Instagram handle is or if he's got a YouTube channel or not, but Kelly and Clay now are Jukebox Stitchery, so they are kind of the offshoot or the next generation of what was formerly Stitch Life Mag, and they are doing freebie charts, but they sell charts, design charts, sell charts, so go out there and check them out. They're really cool. But anyway, rambling on again to say this was a freebie chart, True Colors, that was released in June for Pride Month. And I started it. I had just received my Ymir Almond M&M's Silks, the floral pack. So that's what I ended up doing, was converting all of the colors to her floral pack colors. And then this is a DMC like 417, whatever that gray is in the 400s. And that's what I did. So funny story about this one. Again, another ornament. Cut from Fire Poppies. This is a 32 count white Joblin, and this one was another one where I was, as you can see, this ended up getting stitched over the edge of the pattern, because I should have taken a picture of this when I got done stitching it, because it was literally one stitch short of the serger edging. And so when I sewed this as a pillow, which I did actually, I didn't do an envelope, I'll show you here in a minute. I did not do an envelope finish. When I turned it inside out, that linen started fraying like an SOB. And so I had to restitch it and restitch it and restitch it. And I was like, oh my God, I am never going to get this fabric to stop. So what ended up happening was, I found this really cute backing fabric at like Michael's, which I think the colors just match perfectly, and I love the rainbows. What I ended up doing was I found this trim that I was going to use because it matches, again, really well with the colors. I ended up, if you can tell, I used two pieces. So what I ended up doing was literally, because I was top stitching the crap out of the edge of this, and I was like, I have to hide that top stitching. So I ended up taking my trim and top stitching, or stitching it over the top of all of my top stitching all the way around. So I lost a good part of the pattern, which I'm okay with. Again, I've said this before many times, and I'll say this over and over and over again. It isn't perfect, but it's mine. So I'm proud of it because I finished it. It looks cute. I don't care that I mangled the crap out of the pattern. And I've got the pattern that if I want to stitch it again, I can stitch it again. But you get the you get the sentiment. I see your true color shining through, and that's why I love you. And that's all that matters, is you get the sentiment, you get the basic gist of the pattern. It's perfectly fine. It's really blowing out, guys. Sorry. So it's perfect. As far as I'm concerned, it's mine. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. So, totally happy with that. So, this was part of Pride Month. This was a freebie. So I started this in June. I don't know what date. I couldn't find that specific date in my journal, but I know it was in June. And then I finished this as part of Whips Be Gone on December 2nd. And that is number 19. Number 20 is my other very, very proud of big finish for me for the year. This was not part of Whips Be Gone, partly because I didn't even get the pattern. Didn't even purchase the pattern until December, or November technically. So this was not even purchased till November. And this was a release that I was truly excited about, because this was the next pattern release by D's 20 Stitches and Uncanny Kari. So I didn't mention it in my little video because I was just trying to hustle through it. But Uncanny Kari is a graphic artist, designer, a painter. And D's 20 Stitches takes Kari's images and converts them to cross stitch patterns. So this was their next collaboration. And there were a lot of teasers, like, I want to say around Halloween, leading up through like Thanksgiving, or American Thanksgiving. D is Canadian, so I can't remember when Canadian Thanksgiving is, in October maybe. So this was so exciting for me when it finally got released, because I am not a traditional holiday person. I like the holidays, but I do not like the syrupy, saccharine, Christmassy. Like, my favorite Christmas movie is The Grinch. I love the story, the meaning, but I love The Grinch. I mean, I love that character. I mean, anything you can do to make Christmas a little less Christmas and a little more just funky and goofy and weird, and I'm all for it. So, D and Kari came out with their Krampus collection. Now, there were two patterns. There was a sampler, which I will show you in a minute, that I finished. And then there was also a Krampus Klein, which Klein means small in German. So it was just like a little, and I will stitch that one eventually, because you'll see here in a minute, I had enough fabric left over that I'll be able to make matching finishes. But this sampler was a lot of stitches. So I challenged myself, and I did a hashtag in my stories, and I think I have a highlight reel where I'm missing a day in there somewhere, but you can't really tell unless you're really counting. I challenged myself and made my own little hashtag of 25 days of Krampus stitching. And so I challenged myself from December 1st through Christmas, challenged myself for those 25 days to get this done. And so I knew the number of stitches, because D's patterns, fortunately, convert really well in Pattern Keeper, so I was able to keep track of my stitch count, and I knew my average. And fortunately, I got far enough ahead in my stitches that early on that I was ahead of the game. So instead of needing the full 25 days, I think I only needed 22. So I started this on December the 1st and finished this on December the 22nd. And I'm sorry, guys, this is flimsy because I have not completely finished this, but this is my finish. And these little doodads came in, or became available, I couldn't believe it, mid-December. These are by the Primitive Hair. There were actually 4. There was Krampus, the black ornament, and then a Santa head and like a white and red ornament. So I want to finish this with those. There was also, and again, this is also the primitive hair, this little bauble, this little Krampus charm with the little black ornament on it. So I want to be able to incorporate those into my finish. I just haven't quite figured out what I wanted to do yet. Needless to say, though, this was finished on another Be Stitch Me fabric called Cardinal. I don't know, but I had just gotten this color too. I want to say maybe this couldn't have been the December color. Maybe it's the October, November color, because I had this by the time January rolled around. And Dee's patterns so far have been DMC, but I actually converted this to Leo and Roxy floss. So in my Instagram highlight reel, I put all my stories where I told you what flosses I used, but this is Antique Wedding Dress. I think this is Cinderella. This is Royale. This dress for the girl, the burning girl, I think is Delft. And then I think I used Cinderella and Royale for the boy, the other child's shirt and overalls. May or may not be a boy and a girl, you know. That could be whoever they want to be. Then the red, and I don't know if you can make it out. It looks much better in the photographs. Is Merlot, and it's a variegated. So you've got like the lighter red and the darker red, and I absolutely love it. Krampus was done in 310, DMC 310. The K, which you can't see either, I don't think, and his tongue were done in a toile, a DMC in toile that matched my Merlot color. And then the chain was done in DMC Diamant, whatever the black was of that. So it gives it kind of this shiny look, which I absolutely love. So I finished that in 22 days, and I was so happy with it. Again, there are a couple of things that are kind of one stitch to the wrong, left or right, but I don't care. The other change I made was in the sampler letters, the word Krampus was done in red, but because I wanted to leave Kari and Dee's initials in the sampler, I opted to change the A in Krampus, the J and the A, which are my initials, to white. So that was my, that was what I did to mark my, whatever you want to call it, you know, mark my signature or whatever in it. So, so yeah, I'm so happy with that. So anyway, lots of fabric left. There's like a whole second section. The Krampus Klein, I think, is like, I haven't really looked at it honestly, guys, so this is literally me pulling it out of my ass, but if I had to guess, it's like, you know, 1/3 the size of this. So I've got plenty of fabric to do this, along with probably enough fabric to do whatever else. You know, plenty of fabric left to do other smalls with it. But I'm absolutely so proud of this. One, because I challenged myself to do something and I actually did it. I wasn't beholden to anyone but myself. And, you know, I was cheered on by, you know, folks I communicate with on Instagram. But I wasn't, if I hadn't finished it in 25 days, if I was still working on it today, I wouldn't beat myself up, because this was done for me to see if I could do it. And I was just so happy to be stitching on something pretty monogamously, actually, because I don't think I did much else other than that for the rest of the year. Once I got True Colors done, as far as Whips Be Gone goes, I only had my final, because this is number 20, I only had my final Whips Be Gone challenge for myself, and I went easy on myself because what time I had left after True Colors, which was the 2nd, I don't think I did any more. I mean, I did my vertices. I was trying to think of all my whips be gone. You guys don't want to hear all this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My whips be gone challenge, I went back and forth between cross stitch and knitting. My vertices unite, I finished, was my first knitting challenge. There was a pair of socks in there that was part of that I wanted to finish. Actually, I take that back. I think I finished. Okay, don't get me lying, guys. I was going to say, I wanted to say I finished 2 pairs of socks, but I don't think that's right. But I will tell you. Did 2 cross stitches, a knit. Did another 1, 2 cross stitches and a knit. And then 1, 2 cross stitches. Yeah, 3 cross stitches. So, needless to say, after I got done with my True Color Sal, I devoted pretty much all of my time to Krampus, which, not mad about it, not apologizing. And so I had I gave myself 1 Whips Be Gone left that I thought if I could finish something before the end of the year, and that's basically what I kind of told myself was, you know, the holidays were about to hit hard. I knew we were going to go on vacation, go out of town for a week, that last week in December. I didn't want to commit myself to anything labor intensive, hard, wanted to take it easy. There were a couple of knitting projects that I'd kind of started or started to pick up again that I didn't want to force myself to try to finish either. So I told myself, if I could just give myself 1 more Whips Be Gone, and just tell myself, hey, if you gave yourself a small and got it finished, you could feel proud about it. Because I had already finished what I thought at the time was 19 finishes. So this would have been 20. Come to find out, this is, I think, actually 21. And then yeah, I wouldn't put any pressure on myself. So, my last finish, and I mean my last finish of 2021, because I think I finished this on New Year's Eve at like 10 o'clock at night. I think if you check the timestamp on my Instagram post, it literally was like at the very end of the evening. But we were watching TV. It was Christmas Eve. We were home. This was another small that was started during a stitching challenge the previous December. And it was out of a magazine. I couldn't tell you which, or I could tell you which one, but I'm not going to bother. It's not even really that important. But it was stitched on, or started on a piece of a little small square of white Aida that, like everything else, I cut to size. It worked for the project, but I had no idea. I hadn't stitched it, like centered it. It's not perfect. And then when I got done with it, I realized, oh crap, I got to find something to put that in that's small enough that the fabric doesn't, isn't a problem. So, piece of white Aida, I'm almost positive I can tell you it's 14 count, called for DMC. I'll tell you about the couple of changes I made, but it's a little poinsettia wreath. So, there are a couple of spots where the stitches are off. Again, don't care, can't tell, doesn't matter. I added the year. The year was not part of the original design. I think the magazine that this came out of, if you had the actual paper issue or the magazine, hard copy, I think you may have actually gotten this as like a freebie finish kit, because the finish is actually, this is inside of a windowed card, greeting card, like you would mail to somebody. But I, because I was just doing this, just from the digital pattern of the magazine, I decided to put in the year to mark the year that I stitched it. And then the French knots, which I'm not a big fan of, I can do them. They just, when they're eyeballs, like my Betsy bird, if I have to do a French knot for an eyeball, I hate it because it never looks right. It looks like the creature, whatever it is, person that I'm putting an eyeball for, looks like they're looking, not, directly at you. So that's like on my Betsy bird. That's why I opted for a bead. So all the white on here, the beads are supposed to be French knots. What I ended up doing instead was, again, Stitchy Box, white Delica beads that I got in a Stitchy Box. And I did not do all of the back stitch because the back stitch is a pain in the rear. And the only thing I really wanted to bring out was just the greenery. There were some other spots. Oh, and the bows, I think, are back stitched just to kind of make them stand out, because otherwise they just look like red blotches. But other than that, I didn't do the rest of it because it didn't matter. To me, it looks fine just like it is. So, found the little mini hoop. I've got some little mini hoops from different either kits or clearance purchases that I bought from somewhere, and then just tied the white ribbon that I had in stash on it and called it my last finish for 2021. So that is it. So now I will go on to a couple of the bonus things. I told you at the beginning I have some Quirky Quakers that I finished back here, so I'll show you the ones that I finished of those. I'll see if I can find my Valentine smalls. I'll show you the ones of those that I finished. Those are actually going to also be, they're part of a larger piece of fabric that have some whips on them that when I do my whip go video that I'm going to post here soon, hopefully, that'll be part of that. And then one more thing that I will add as a bonus is if any of you guys are into cross stitch and are watching this and you are always kind of curious about people who save their orts, I'm already starting to save mine for 2022. All I've got so far is my little bit from my whip go that I've done so far. But I did last year decide, because I knew I was going to be doing a lot more cross stitch, decided I was going to collect my orts. Now, I will modify this by saying, at this exact moment that I'm recording this, I think there may be some 2021s or 2020 orts in here as well, because at the tail end of 2020 I was, stitching challenges and stuff like that. So there may be some 2020 orts in here, but by far the most of this is 2021. So I've got some little metal stamp charms, so I'm going to metal stamp a 2021 charm to put on there. But like the purple, that's from my little Hexes. The maroon, I'm pretty sure that's from my Krampus. The gold, that's from my my turkey. Yeah, there's a lot of gold and yellow in there. So yeah, I can see my 2021 stitching in here. And this was a 6 count package of these little ornaments. The little lid just pops right off like a light bulb, thing would if you're going to replace the light bulb, in your lights in your Christmas tree or whatever, holiday tree. But this was a 6-pack that I found in the dollar spot at Target, so I took advantage of it. 6 is obviously 1 pretty much holds a year's worth of cross stitching, or at least a year's worth of my cross stitching orts, my ornament. So I think 6, having 6 of these, 5 more, that'll get me through for now, and then in 5 more years or whatever, if I'm still doing this, I'll find some more. But yeah, that is my marker. So basically, in my stories and Instagram, I think like one of the first stories I posted for 2022 was a picture of these together. Like, this was my last stitch for the year, and this was all of my orts for 2021, and like I said, probably some 2020 also, but I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, so that is everything for the year. Those are all of my stitches, all of my finishes, and I'm going to show you a few bonus ones, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, so here's my little bonus at the end. I thought I would show you a few of the other finishes that I'm not really counting towards the total, but kind of smaller finishes that I got done last year that are either part of larger projects or in the case of these few that I'm going to show you are little finishes that are part of a bigger piece of fabric, basically, that, you know, as time goes on, will be added to. And the first ones I'll show you are my Valentine finishes from last year. This is actually on a big piece of fabric that I'm going to continue to use for, I've got some other partial projects on it, and they're one of my Whip Go, actually a couple of my Whip Go board tiles include things that are on this fabric. So this was one. And all of these, I think that I did finish, are all freebies on Hands On Designs blog. She does anniversary stitches that she gives out as freebies on her blog for her husband every year. So I think all of these are little stitches. Here's another one. I hope you guys can see that. It's part of I've got another stitch that I'm working on there. And then these two also. My heart leaps up and be kind, or be mine. And so what I did, I think last year was, yeah, I should do that one. Last year I did a another personal like hashtag/challenge of 14 days of Valentine stitching. And so I may do that again this year, but basically, you know, the first 14 days of February leading up to Valentine's Day itself. And so there were 14 different little motifs or things that or patterns that I had that I was working on. And there are actually some other things, like this is all of my like Valentine related stitching in here. But basically everything that is unfinished on that piece of fabric, I've actually added to my Whip Go board. So you guys will actually see some more of that later when you, or if you watch my Valentine's, or if you watch my Whip Go video that I'm going to try to record here and post shortly after this one, if I've got enough time. So other than that, the only other things, designs, patterns that I finished were my Quirky Quakers. And unfortunately, I think I'm going to have kind of a hard time showing this to you guys, partly because the first one that I finished, which was the Lovebirds, is kind of scrolled upwards on my scroll frame, so you're not going to be able to see the whole pattern, but I'll try to show you as much of it as I can. So if you guys did follow any of my videos last year, I think I repeated over and over and over again about how my plans for 2021 were to stitch, at the time, I think Deanna, Darling and Whimsy Designs, had 6 or 7 Quirky Quakers out at the beginning of 2021. So I was going to do one every other month, ending with the Bat at Halloween and the Reindeer at Christmas. And did that happen? No. And then she added a bunch more, and I was like, okay, now I've got enough that I can do one every month. But did I do that? No. So I did. I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And that sounds about right for my year. Just kind of petered out the second half of the year. And of course, petered out on my videos too. Yay. So, I will show you though again, if you didn't follow me on, or if you don't follow me on Instagram, or if you haven't seen any of these before. Lovebirds. See, it's kind of, that's the rest of the design. The fox. Then, the Fishbone Pattern, this one was, Deanna had done a, basically if you donated something to a like adoption center for animals or humane center, you know, animal related organization, you got this one for free. Then sometime during the year, she had done these cryptid ones, which was a Bigfoot, which she also gave the conversion for a Yeti, a unicorn, which this is what this is, and then the third one's Loch Ness Monster, I think. But as you can see, I started the unicorn here, realized I was going to run out of room, so I had to quit. So I started it again over here, and then I got to here, and I realized I goofed on my stitching. So now I've got to take that back out. So I got 5 done. That's it. But this is another thing that's actually on my whip go. I think I put either start and finish one or finish one. So I actually think if it is part of my whip go though, I may actually do 2. Like start frog my unicorn and finish it, and then do a second one as well. So we'll see when it gets called. It hasn't been called yet, so this is just kind of sitting back here out of the way. But that, y'all, is everything. Those are all of my finishes from 2021. So I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, not that anybody asked, but this is, I think, a 16 count, and it's called like Luna. Hold on. I'll tell you, because I think I've got it in here somewhere. Because I moved it off of here because I kept losing the 14 count Silvery Moon, but it's just an Ada. It's a Zweigart Ada. I don't remember who I bought it from, but yeah, that's what this is. But I want to put all of my Quirky Quakers on here if I can help it, if I have any say so. So I'm going to see how many I get on here. I should have started these over a little bit more, because then I probably have room for one more on this end, but I'm not mad about it. It's fine. We'll see how many I get. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm looking at all these little partial pieces, and this is, well, y'all will see it before I will, but I don't think this is going to be under an hour. I'm going to try to edit it as much as I can and make it under an hour, but I'm sorry, guys. Put it on double speed. I don't care. I may talk like a chipmunk. I may be like, blah, 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 but at least you can get through it in a reasonable amount of time. So, Happy New Year to everybody. I hope the new year treats you well. I hope your new year is kind to you, and hopefully we're gonna get through all this together. So you guys, be kind to one another. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay warm. It's January, and I'll see you on the next one. Love you guys.